What is going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. In today's video we're going to get straight into it, and my goal for today, or at least this episode, is going to be getting my 5-speed double-X transmission out and putting in the STI 6-speed, the upgraded clutch, the flywheel, so on and so forth. So this is definitely the part that I have been anticipating the most. It's going to be probably the most difficult. Getting it out by myself, I'm not sure if that's going to be possible, like physically, but I have a few tricks on my sleeve that's going to make some things easier. So the first thing I'm going to do, take off the downpipe, start unplugging everything that's connected to the transmission itself, all the bell housing bolts. We're going to be doing a nice little time lapse of all of that, and hopefully at least today I can get the 5-speed out. If I can get it out, I will be freaking stoked, because then all I got to do is get the 6-speed in, and that's pretty much the only part that I'm going to need actual help with. So I'm going to get some sort of friend to help me out, because once the 6-speed is in, all the other stuff, axles, knuckles, I can do all that stuff by myself, no issue. So we're gonna see what happens. Wish me luck. All right, boys, so I have been going in, getting a realistic camera angle, taking off the downpipe, it just wasn't gonna happen. You guys couldn't really see anything, so the downpipe did come off. Also, the next thing I got off was the starter right here, and I'll show you guys everything I kind of got out of the way. This was obviously a little bit easier for me because I don't have a top mount. Didn't need to take it out to access the bolts for the bell housing. There's 2 bolts. Hold on, let's see if we can see here. Right in this area, there's 2 bolts holding on the slave cylinder. Got the slave cylinder off. Got the pitch stop mount out. These are pretty much like all 14 mil bolts. There's the slave cylinder right there. You can see the pitch stop mount right here. It's kind of pushed out of the way. And there's going to be a few connections along the transmission. You can see down there that are now disconnected. And now pretty much all I'm doing is getting all the bell housing bolts taken out. I'll show you that right now. Now what I'm doing is I'm going in, got the starter out, and there's actually the 2 bolts that hold the starter in are the same bolts that are the bell housing bolts. So those 2 are together with the starter over there. And now these are all 14 mil, I believe. There's 2 nuts at the bottom and 2 studs right there. The rest of them are bolts, but there's 2 nuts at the very bottom, the one on this side, one on that side. Already got those nuts off. Now I'm going to just continue to take off all the bolts once those are all out. And pretty much everything's disconnected up top, downpipes out of the way, like I said. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to roll a jack under here. It's going to be resting underneath the belly of the transmission. And then I'm going to have to get this little cross member out of here and drop the entire thing. Okay, today is the next day. Like I said, we already got all the bolts out for the bell housing and whatnot. We just got, where'd that thing go? Over here. Over here? We got this thing out. This is what was in the way. Ready to go. We got that thing out of the way. Then we got the jack just holding up the rear of the trans. We're going to try to lower this thing down as best we can. Once we get it to the point where it's pretty much on the ground, we're going to try to lift the trans up off the jack, get the jack out of here, and use this cardboard to slide out the trans. We'll see what happens. Alright, transmission is coming apart, as you guys can see. Where is it, right? Can you see it? Am I lost? Right here. Nah, you can't see it. Shoot! You see it? There we go. Anyway, you guys can see, it's coming apart. We're getting this thing out of here. Can we see it? That's the one right there. Transmission freaking disconnected. I know you guys can see that the slave cylinder is kind of in the way, but got it fully separated. Now we're just going to get this thing down and lower it out, and then we'll move on to the next step. But I mean, what was that, like 30 minutes? It wasn't bad. This is the easiest part right here. Tell me how it is. I think your honesty got me. Possibly find ways to entertain myself and still thinking you constantly. What you thinking? Floating down, I bet they couldn't sink it. Butterflies of rainy days couldn't sink my spirit. What you trying to do with all that energy? There's a certain type of mystic in the air when you're next to me, so bright and sweet. So we finally got the 5-speed out, and we also got the boys here. We got David, we got Tommy.
What's up?
Savages over here. Got to represent with the AV. Love it, love it, love it. So what's next is we're gonna have to actually take off the pressure plate and the flywheel off the engine, and we're gonna have to swap it out with the stuff that I got for the STI. And once we do that, we're gonna do pretty much the same thing we did for the 5-speed. We're gonna put it back on the cardboard, slide it under, and then start lifting it up. We're gonna obviously it's gonna be probably the most difficult part to do. But the next thing, like I said, take off this old pressure plate, put on the STI stuff. It's gonna be good. So I didn't get myself getting the pressure plate off, but obviously you saw there's about 6 bolts holding that thing on. There's only about, I think, 12 or 14 foot-pounds holding it on, so it's not too bad. These guys are about 50, I believe, 50 or 56. So now we're getting the flywheel off, and then we'll be good to go. Show them the axe sticker, bro. Oh, show them the axe sticker! Anyway, here we go. We got the STI pressure plate. We got the clutch. Obviously, we got throwout bearing. And the new flywheel that I got from Subaru. Obviously, it looks a lot different than the WRX one. You can see right there. Dual mass on the STI. It's looking a lot beefier, a lot bigger. And the only thing I was stressing on is I was wondering if it actually came with these dowel pins, because that's something that I forgot when I did my swap last time with the WRX, but luckily it does. It's looking pretty good. We're going to throw up this new flywheel. Then we'll move on to the pressure plate, obviously using the alignment tool, and we should be good to go. So we ran into some slight issues. I had to freaking change the shirt because we are actually going to Monterey to go pick up some pressure plate bolts. They're actually the same, WRX STI, the part number is the same, but the only difference being there is actually 6 holding the pressure plate onto the flywheel on the WRX, and the STI there's actually 9 or 8. I don't know if I miscounted or not. So luckily Subaru over in Cypress, which is Seaside, which is like an hour away from me, has those bolts. So we're gonna make the mission. We're gonna go get those. Got to utilize David while he's here, and we're trying to get the 6-speed installed today. So we're gonna go for it. See you guys when we're in Seaside. We made it back from Monterey. We got our flywheel bolts. We got the flywheel put up, torqued down, ready to go. And now 6-speed is going in. We just got everything figured out for the, can you stop? Who's hit me up? Doesn't matter. We got everything figured out for this guy. We got the brand new pin. We have obviously brand new throwout bearing from ACT. We got everything situated. This is how it should go. We got our spring for the fork right there. Everything slides nice. We have everything lubed up, ready to go with the packet we used just from the ACT. Now we're gonna put on this cardboard here, drag it under, get it lifted up, and hopefully we'll get this thing in. Let's do it. I'll grab the ass. 1, 2, 3. Okay. I don't know what this is. Landed in the middle?
Yeah, right in the middle. Cool.
Okay. So it looks like a freaking bomb went off. There's the 5-speed, the lonely 5-speed. Believe it or not, the 6-speed is freaking in, boys. Let's see if you can see it. And right there, you can kind of see. There you go. You can see the 6-speed's in. You can see that gold right there. Oh man, it's kind of freaking impossible to see. Pretty much it is mated. Maybe it's easier to see on this side, but we finally got it in. It just honestly takes, there you go. Now you can see there's the block and there's the transmission, fully mated up on the top, fully mated up on the bottom. Pretty much the best way that we went about it was to get it on the studs, right? Once we got on the studs, you pretty much just had to keep angling the rear of the transmission up to where it wouldn't impede it going on the 2 bottom studs. And once it went through there, we pretty much just shimmy shaked it all the way. Like, that's pretty much it, right? You literally freaking shimmy shake, chimichanga, freaking a lot of shimmy shake in there. And then we pretty much started using the bolts to pry the transmission closer and closer, evenly distributing the torque from left to right. And we're pretty much just checking the top space, checking the bottom space, making sure we're all good. The other thing you need to do is make sure that the input shaft for the transmission gets into the clutch disc itself, which is typically one of the hardest parts. But for ours, it literally went in like first try, which typically you're freaking like you're bolting it down and it won't go. That means it's not lining up. The splines aren't lining up for the clutch disc, but ours literally slipped right in with no issue. So that literally never happened. So it's freaking, I'm stoked on that, like for real. So that's pretty much that. We're pretty stoked on it. I think I'm gonna end the video here, and I'll start the video probably with hooking up all the DCCD stuff. But I think that's going to be it. I hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys learned something. I'm going to catch you on the next one. Peace out.